So our essential question, what are living things made of? That is our essential question for the entire chapter. Like I said, we're going small, building a little bit bigger molecules and compounds. Now we're on pretty big molecules and compounds with the carbon-based molecules. Organic molecules are the foundation of life. And that is just a picture of a Venus flytrap eating a frog, because Venus flytraps are carnivorous plants. Those are real plants. And everybody needs carbon, and it gets its carbon by eating, just like we do. So organic compounds. The word organic just means carbon. I know when we hear the word organic, a lot of the time we think organic at the grocery store, we think, oh, it just means natural. It means made without chemicals. Nope. Organic just means made of carbon. You are made of carbon. You are an organic life form. Many carbon-based molecules are made of small subunits bonded together. Those small subunits are called monomers. So monomers are the individual subunits. Polymers are the large chains made of many monomers. I don't know if you've ever learned your prefixes, your Greek and Latin prefixes, but the prefix mono means one. The prefix uni means one too, but here we use mono. And then the prefix poly means many. A lot of times you've heard the words with regard to relationships. A monogamous relationship means you have one partner. A polygamous relationship, especially in certain religions, means you have more than one husband or wife. Normally it works with the wives. So here, mono means one, poly means many. And then, yes, I want you to draw this picture in your notes. That's why it says on the thing, it says, draw this picture. So these are little hexagons. It doesn't have to be little hexagons. You can draw 5 little circles and link them together. The important part is the individual one is called a monomer, and then put together, the big long chain is the polymer. So yes, please draw this picture. I told you once upon a time, we don't draw very much, but there are certain things that I do want you to have drawings of in your notes. This is one of them. There are 4 major organic compounds found in all living things. They are called macromolecules, and they are made of small repeating units called monomers. So the prefix macro is underlined because macro means large. It is the opposite of micro. Everybody should know what micro means. If we are looking through a microscope, we are looking at very, very tiny things we cannot see just with our eyes. We have to magnify it to be able to see it. And then on the opposite end is macros. So these are macromolecules. There are 4 main ones, and 3 out of those 4 we eat to get them inside of our bodies to build our structures and to give us energy. The first one is carbohydrates. These are all words you should have heard before. The name literally means carbon and water because that is what it's made of. Carbon, and then water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. So carbohydrates are made of the elements C, H, and O. Carbohydrates' main function is to store energy for later use. Again, we eat these to give us and our bodies energy. These are things like rice, pasta, bread, potatoes, tortillas. These are all types of carbohydrates. Most desserts are also types of carbohydrates. I know people equate dessert with fat, but desserts are made of sugar, and sugar is a carbohydrate. The subunit or monomer of a carbohydrate is called a monosaccharide. Again, mono means one. And then saccharide is the fancy science name for sugar. We always have to have fancy science names for things. We can't just say monosugar. We call it a monosaccharide. Examples include compounds like glucose and fructose. And you'll notice as we talk about these sugars that most of them, not all of them, but most of them end in OSE. So glucose, fructose, galactose, lactose, sucrose, those are all types of sugars. Those are all types of saccharides. So monosaccharide means one. And it just means this ring structure right here, this hexagon, glucose is made of one of these rings. Fructose is made, this one's a pentagon, but it is made of one of those rings, one of those carbon rings. And we can join them together. When we join them together, 1 + 1 = 2. So we put a chain of monosaccharides together. We end up with either disaccharides, which is just 2 linked together, and sucrose, table sugar, the sugar you have at your house. The fancy science name for table sugar is sucrose. It is a disaccharide. Di means 2, saccharide again means sugar. Lactose is the sugar that you'll find in milk. And then you join longer chains of them together, you get polysaccharides. There's that poly prefix again, meaning many. Saccharide still means sugar. And then you get these long, these are classified as starch molecules. So bread, potatoes, pasta, those are made of very long molecules, very long monomers, monosaccharide chain. Cellulose is the sugar found in plants. It's also made of long strings of glucose. And then I will also tell you when we eat these molecules are the molecules that give us more energy. We get energy when these bonds are broken between all of these glucose molecules. Sucrose only has one bond to break. Starch, you can see, has many. And the longer it is, the more bonds it has to break, the more energy that it gives us. That's why people carb load before games or before meets. Nope, I don't want you. Lipids are the next class of molecules. These are non-polar molecules that include fats, oils, and cholesterol. Remember, we talked about polar versus non-polar last week. Water is a polar molecule because it has 2 different charges on the different ends. The oxygen end is a little bit negative, the hydrogen end is a little bit positive. Lipids are nonpolar. They are evenly charged all the way around the molecule. They don't have a north pole and a south pole, or a negative pole and a positive pole. So fats, oils, and cholesterol are examples of lipids. The monomer of lipids is a fatty acid. And monomer is in quotation marks because it's not a true monomer. Lipids are made of fatty acids linked together, but they're not the exact same repeating unit like polysaccharides are. So it's not a true monomer, but when we're just learning the concept, we call it a monomer. Lipids have several different functions. It is a source of long-term energy. When you eat lipids, when you eat those fats and oils, hopefully healthy fats and oils, They give you energy. They give you a source of long-term energy. Its chain is even longer than a carbohydrate. They make up your cell membranes. You are made of cells. We will talk about that more in chapter 3. They also make up hormones. So the discussion you guys have this week, you are discussing certain chemicals that are found in your body. A lot of those are hormones. Those are lipids. So I know sometimes we think fats are bad, but we actually need fats in our bodies, some fats in our body, to be able to function properly. You will find out as you research for your discussion what happens if those hormones are not in balance. Your body does not function properly. Proteins are our third macromolecule. Again, something we eat. They can also be called polypeptides. Poly, again, meaning many, and peptide is the type of bond that links a protein chain together. So we call it polypeptides. Again, another fancy science name. So these are large molecules made of monomers called amino acids. And it has a few different functions. There's functional proteins like enzymes, participate in chemical processes like digestion, help us break our food down. Those we will go over more next week when we talk about enzymes. It gets its own special section. And then there's structural proteins like meat and beans. They form structures of the body like muscles. When we eat meat, we are eating the muscles of other animals and incorporating it into our body to make our muscles. That's how food works. And then nucleic acids. These carry instructions to build proteins. This is the genetic material that gets passed on from parents to offspring. You guys should have all seen a picture of this molecule before. Its monomer are called nucleotides. We'll go into greater detail in chapter 8 when we get there. For now, you just have to know the function, the examples, the monomer. And examples are DNA and RNA. That is DNA in the picture. RNA is similar, but it is only single-stranded. It doesn't have the two strands wound around each other. But again, we'll go into more detail in chapter 8. But nucleic acid is the fourth macromolecule that we have, that our bodies are made of. And then I believe, yep, that is it. So get going on your weekly work, whichever part you're on. And again, I tell you, you have to do them in order for the next ones to open. Some of them are grayed out at the beginning of the week. It means you have to do the first one before the next one will open. That's how